There was a backdoor plea deal attempt with the defendant, which would have given him only 7 years for the murder of the victim. That's horrendous. And I believe that you're very familiar with this case, Mr. Trujillo. The residents of City of Downey need to know where our city council stands on this very important issue of safety. We want safe streets. We want to support our support for our victims of crimes, and we want justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Leticia Vasquez. I'm one of 8 members of the Central Basin Municipal Water District Board. I come before you to address a letter that I received from an attorney that you hired, Miss Tiffany Powers Scarborough, who writes that the City of Downey would be initiating litigation against me. Basically, it appears that she's threatening on behalf of the City of Downey to sue me for defamation and unfair competition. I want to inform you that there's no such thing as a municipality suing for defamation. New York Times versus Sullivan is the case that was settled in the U.S. Supreme Court in 1964. I'm not in competition with the City of Downey, and I do not conduct business that is in competition with the City of Downey. Consequently, Ms. Scarborough threatens to sue me for unfair competition are just totally without merit and a waste of taxpayer money. It appears to me that the purpose of Ms. Scarborough's letter is to threaten and intimidate me for telling the truth about Downey's water. And I do want to take an opportunity to share this information with the council. That in fact, Assemblywoman Cristina Garcia introduced and passed legislation by the California legislature that went into effect in January of 2020, which requires community water systems to report the levels of PFAS and PFOA. The response levels are 10 parts per trillion and 40 parts per trillion, and Downey's water supply exceeds those. The City of Downey sent out a notice that basically speaks to the contaminants and recommends that the residents, if they have compromising systems, that they seek medical advice before drinking the water supply. So I want to ask that you work with the Central Basin to ask them to drop the lawsuit.
Thank you, ma'am.
That is currently.
Thank you.
Good evening again, City Council, Mayor Pro Tem. So I believe City Manager Livas answered it a little bit, my comment, but I wanted to get a little bit more clarification. I'd be happy to yield the rest of my time to you if that's possible. But specifically, I wanted to know what would happen if, even at a discounted sort of prorated rate, if the CEG Onyx program were to extend to residents and local businesses, if that's possible at all.
Are you done speaking?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you want to address.
I don't know if you can respond or.
No, the savings just go strictly to the city and municipality, so that's not extended to the rest of the city. It's only for the city-owned facilities.
Well, yeah, if
And the savings, typically what they do is the savings go into the general fund, and the council, at their discretion during the budget time, allocate those savings.
Okay. And they couldn't adopt like the panels themselves, the residents, to put on their own.
We can actually have a more of a discussion later, because that way it's not a question and answer, because it's not really
The format.
the time.
That's on the agenda.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Lee
Welcome.
Squire, City of Brea, retired Financial Services Manager for Accounting and Auditing, 31 years. Civil Rights Advocate for Disabled Children. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and we the people of the City of Downey and all cities within the County of Los Angeles. Subject, LA Gascon's policies. All public officials owe a fiduciary duty to we the people / the voters. I have a couple questions for you, LA Deputy DA Trujillo, and at the same time, Councilmember Trujillo. Did you have a fiduciary duty to provide or request the city attorney for the following documents so that we the people can make our own decisions? The lawsuit filed by the LADA Prosecutors Union against LADA Gascon. The amicus brief filed by the California DA's Association in support of the lawsuit by the Prosecutors Union. The ruling by the judge in favor of the lawsuit by the Prosecutors Union against LADA Gascon. These documents, I believe, should have been volunteered for review by we the people for we to have basically made our own informed decisions. I'd also like to know is what do our police officers and detectives think as to the LADA's policies and the impact of we the people of LA County? We the people of the City of Downey, we care about justice for all and especially all of our children, whether it be in the City of Downey or every city in LA County or every city in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, welcome.
Good evening,
Good
Mayor Pro
evening.
Tem, City Council members. My name is Bill Adrian. I'm taking this opportunity to let you know how extremely disappointed I am in my city's elected officials. I, along with numerous other of your constituents, have repeatedly asked the City Council place on its agenda a vote of no confidence in DA George Gascon. Your response was to postpone the vote due to one council member currently being on Gascon's staff. It's claimed that this is being done out of respect. That's ironic when the person in question has so little respect for his colleagues that he simply can't abstain from voting. That, quite frankly, is a slap in the face to all of us, the people whom you claim to represent. 27 other cities as of this time have listened to the people they represent and have voted no confidence in Gascon and his dangerous policies. Yet you have placed the wishes of one man ahead of the 112,000 citizens of Downey. We're not asking any of the council members to vote against their conscience. But if it's put to a vote and the resolution fails, then so be it. But at least you would have acted as you should have for your community. At least it would have been voted upon. If any sitting council members feel they cannot vote, then they can simply recuse themselves. But it seems that one councilman, his outside job is more important than the people in his district. And in fact, more important than the people in the City of Downey. Mr. Trujillo, if your job is more important to you than the people you claim to serve, then why did you run for your seat in the first place? Thank you.
Thank you. And please tell your wife I said hi. I think staff has already reached out to her to discuss the other issue that you're having. So if it continues, please tell her to text me. And I'll also, please let her know that I'll be calling her later on in the week.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sorry, something unrelated.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Patricia. Estoy aquí porque reclamo algo que sucedió a mi hijo hace años, en el 2016, aquí en la ciudad de Downey, en el skate park. Mi hijo era segundo campeón número 2 de la ciudad de Downey y se dedicaba a estudiar business internacionales en Cypress College y se graduó aquí en high school, pero fue víctima de homicidio en el parque, en el estacionamiento.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Patricia, and I had a son who, in 2016, he was taken. He was a victim of homicide. He was a victim of homicide at the skate park, and he was a second champion and was going to a city college.
Cypress College.
I'm sorry, to Cypress College,
Business
and he was majoring in international business.
And then fue víctima de homicidio y lo mataron aquí en Downey. Desde ahí, yo vivo traumada.
He was a victim of homicide in the city of Downey, and since then, I've been living with trauma.
actually, no solamente traumada, sino, o sea, me mataron parte de mi vida, porque mi hijo solo vivía conmigo, los otros dos vivimos solos.
Not only have I been living with trauma, but my son was living with me. He was my entire world.
Ahora tengo conocimiento con las leyes que cambian cada vez, que un señor Gascón que trabaja como juez,
Yes, and now the laws are changing. Mr. Gascon
está tratando de cambiar reglamentos o leyes, no sé, pero a favor de los pandilleros. Y realmente yo me opongo a eso, y gente que trabaje a favor de aquí juntamente con él, tampoco estoy de acuerdo, porque ustedes deben de velar por los ciudadanos de Downey.
and Mr. Gascon, he is changing the laws favoring gang members. I oppose this, and I oppose people that are also helping and working with him.
Porque deben velar por la ciudad de Downey. Deben velar por la seguridad de los ciudadanos de Downey. ¿Por qué? Porque deben velar cuidar a los ciudadanos de Downey.
Because they have to take care of the citizens of the city of Downey.
Nosotros tuvimos que hacer muchos cambios en nuestras vidas por esta acción que pasó con mi hijo.
We had to make a lot of changes because of the situation that happened with my son.
Mi hija tuvo que emigrar del estado de California. Ella se graduó aquí en la Universidad de Northridge de economista y se fue a vivir a Filadelfia, a un lugar muy tranquilo y con lo que yo soñaba con Downey.
My daughter, who graduated from Long Beach College, went to live somewhere else, and she's living in a more peaceful place now. Northridge. I'm sorry. She graduated from Cal Northridge or Northridge University.
Se fue a vivir a Filadelfia.
She went to live in Philadelphia
No quiso estar más en Los Ángeles
because she didn't want to live in Los Angeles anymore
por lo que le pasó a mi hijo,
because of what happened to my son.
porque fue víctima de homicidio y lo mataron terriblemente.
He was a victim of homicide. He was killed very terribly.
Yo he tratado de comunicarme con la ciudad de Downey
I've tried to communicate with the city of Downey
para pedir información acerca de la seguridad del skate park,
to request for information about security for skate park,
porque en ese tiempo las cámaras de la ciudad no funcionaban.
because at that time the cameras at that park were not working well.
Además, el security, el que trabajaba de seguridad del parque,
Also, the security who was working at that park,
jamás llamó a la policía para informar que habían 2 pandilleros ahí en el parque.
he never called the police, letting them know that there were 2 gang members at the park.
Además de eso, al día siguiente desapareció, nunca más regresó a trabajar.
The next day, he never returned back to work.
Un momento. Can we stop the clock? Mr. Greenspan, can you please have a seat? Okay.
Es por eso que yo solicito a ustedes, que son la parte gobernal del gobierno de Downey, que apoyen a los ciudadanos y velen por la seguridad de todos.
That's why I request for all of you guys who govern the city of Downey for better safety, security, and pretty much safety and security.
Ya, es todo.
That is all.
Thank you. And I'm sorry to hear about your son. Can I just a minute? Is our YouTube channel streaming correctly? Okay, thank you. Thank you and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Pacheco and council members. Guten Abend, das is German. I have 2 items I'd like to bring up and suggest. First, on social media, Next Door Neighbor and other apps, when people move in the community, they're asking about a community garden. And I think it might be nice if there was some space in town that we can investigate with a community garden for people that live in condominiums, don't have a backyard, even renters. Brings the community together. Seniors can teach them how to garden, something of that nature. I know in other areas have it. So I thought that was quite nice. Wanted to bring it to your attention. Last week, I'm glad to see that Havana Nights was saved, and it's going to be bigger and better. It's a huge organization. It's a huge fundraiser for the Seroptimist International when we go out and support it on the rooftops. We're glad to be able to participate. Ich wollen ein Oktoberfest bitte. There's a community that's underserved in here, and that's the German community. In the 1960s and 70s, they were very strong. We had a German market, we had a German deli, we had German bakeries, we had German churches. So there's still a lot of that heritage still in our town. I'd like to see that celebrated as well, not necessarily in October, but it starts in September. It's a harvest festival, and everyone enjoys it. We'll have beers and brats and schnitzel and Kartoffelsalat and sauerkraut. I think it's something that would be enjoyable, and there'd be a large community that would come out to support it. So maybe please consider it on the calendar for next year. Und ich kann sprechen ein bisschen Deutsch zu sehr, and you'll learn a few words. So danke schön, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Those are some really good ideas. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. My name is Kathy Cady, and I was a career prosecutor for over 30 years in the district attorney's office. I retired 2 years ago, and in January, because of George Gascon, I have started working again. I'm working with a number of other former prosecutors. There's about 20 of us, and we are all providing pro bono services to crime victims. We are in this position because of Gascon's policies and victims who are feeling as though no one has their back and cases are not being handled in an appropriate manner. Their rights are being violated, and the community is being endangered because of his policies. I came to the council meeting tonight because on your agenda you had that there was going to be a presentation on Gascon's policies. And I wanted to be here to hear what was being said and also be able to respond. I can tell you that since January, I personally have represented over 70 murder victims' families. These have been cases where, just as we heard from one woman whose son was murdered, they are first of all devastated by the crime that happened to their loved one, but they are re-traumatized because Gascon's policies are resulting in their rights being violated and dangerous criminals being let out on the street. Many of these cases involve juvenile suspects, and in those cases, the district attorney's office has taken a blanket policy that he will not prosecute those people in adult court. What that means is that individuals who have killed more than one person in a gang initiation are getting released from custody in perhaps 7 years. This is really unfathomable to murder victims' families. They feel as though the wind has been taken out of them and that they are being re-traumatized once again. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you...
Thank you. And actually, just so you and the residents are aware, this item was tabled to the next council meeting to allow for our mayor to also be present at the meeting. That's the reason why it was tabled. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would just like to encourage the city not to sponsor any of the cultural events that come up in during the course of the year. I know you're on the hook for a couple of them coming up, but these events do not create unity for our community. We are an American community. We are not a Cuban community. We are not a Mexican community. We are one American community under one flag. We have heard people spread the narrative in here that They look at that flag and they see hatred. They see oppression. They see slavery. I have laid out a foundation in my comments to this group that we are a group of individuals, and that's what our country was founded on, not group identity politics. And I want to say that what happens is when the Marxists get involved in a local city, they start having these little events and stuff like that. And as we heard last meeting, that's when all of it came out. You saw all the angst, all the anger, all the heated conversation. We had a councilwoman telling the Cubans to go home, and they're my Cubans, and she's not going to cancel us. You know, we're Cubanos over here. That's what that creates. And where does that usually end up when we start having groups that are represented and not individuals? They become in a battle for power or a struggle for power of the people until the strongest one wins. Like the young man said, he was in Kosovo and he couldn't believe the things he saw over there. Well, that's what your multiculturalism brings you. He couldn't believe it. Biafran, what did the Marxists do to those people over there? They starved them to death. But I'm out of time right now. So.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council, Mr. Levis and staff, good evening. My name is John Lacey. Let me add a few comments about our Los Angeles County District Attorney, George Gascon. He has modified the policies of the criminal justice system such that it benefits the criminal more than the victim. His policies have basically eliminated 3 strikes, eliminated sentence enhancing, it's eliminated gang enhancements, it's eliminated many misdemeanors, some of which includes public intoxication, threats to the public, and also he has eliminated cash bond for certain types of misdemeanors. I would say it's safe to say that most of the crime victims do not agree with some of Mr. Gascon's policies. In fact, as one of the gentlemen mentioned before, 27 of the 87 cities in Los Angeles County have issued a resolution of no confidence to Mr. Gascon. There's an effort out there to recall Mr. Gascon. They need about 600,000 signatures by October the 27th of this year. If you're interested, go online to recall George Gascon. It's recall George Gascon. Finally, the main purpose of government is for the protection of the public. Some of Mr. Gascon's policies do not achieve that goal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, City Mayor, City Council members. Hi, my name is John, and I have 2 things briefly. As a healthcare workers, since we have Gascon, because of even though vaccine does not work properly for the current variants, so vaccine is just our freedom to choose. That's what I believe. So and for you, I'm pointing out regarding the mask. When you cough, make sure you put on the mask on, because coughing, people have tendency of removing and putting on the hands to cover the coughing, but mask is better. That's why we put on the mask, even though in public, even though you get the vaccinations. And regarding, since you mentioned about last week, the Pride Month, the picnics, primacy is something. The reason I bring this continually is for my children's city, especially all this city event is influencing people, and especially primaries is not influencing good for the children. I mean, yes, LGBTQ is their own their own choice, and we need to respect on it. But this is influencing our children, which does not have their own idea and city influence. This is good. Then people children's, yeah, that's the problem, and they're just more prone to it. So that's the reason I bring up. And last time also I heard that about the flag, the rainbow flag is not usually misused. It is God's promise that was described from the beginning of the Bible. So, thank you.
Thank you. It's already 30 minutes. We'll go ahead and proceed with the last three speakers. We just have to make sure that it's double time, so it's 4 minutes. Yeah, for
Buenas noches.
speaker.
Buenas noches para todos, especialmente a la
Galicia.
Blanca Pacheco, Mayor.
Good evening to everyone, especially Mayor Blanca Pacheco.
Blanca Pacheco, usted tiene ideas comunistas
Ms. Blanca Pacheco, you have some communist ideas,
y actúa como los comunistas.
and you act as like the communist.
No respetan la Constitución de los Estados Unidos de 3 minutos llevándola a 1 y a 2,
You don't respect the Constitution from 3 minutes to 2 minutes
porque no le gusta que le digan la verdad. Así actúan los comunistas.
because you don't like to hear the truth. That's how communists act.
En la agenda del mayo 12 del 2020,
In the agenda, May 12, 2020,
ustedes pusieron en la agenda votar en contra de las manifestaciones aquí en la ciudad de Downey.
you put in the agenda that you were against any protests in the city of Downey.
La mayor promesa de Downey,
The main reason for Downey,
usted
you
y Livas,
and like Livas,
que son los que hacen la agenda, no sabían después cómo explicarle a las personas.
you're all part of the agenda, did not know how to explain this to people.
¿Sabían que ustedes que eso es votando en contra de la Constitución de 1964?
You all know that this was against the Constitution of 1964
De los Actos Brown Act
from the Brown Act,
y echando por el piso las vidas perdidas que fueron a la guerra a pelear por la Constitución de Estados Unidos.
and not taking into account for the people who died at wars, not respecting the Constitution.
Todavía a veces ustedes ignoran a los veteranos de guerra de esta ciudad.
You still ignore the veterans who were part of the wars.
Cuando ustedes quieren eliminar las protestas, eso es comunismo. ¿Usted sabe lo que es comunismo?
When
Que
you
no
want-
quieren que el pueblo sepa la verdad, no quiere que el pueblo se exprese.
When you want to eliminate protests, that means that you're a communist. What does communist mean? That you don't you don't accept the truth.
¿Por qué usted cree que el pueblo cubano está peleando? ¿Por hambre? ¿Miseria? No. Por la libertad de expresión, la que no hay en esta ciudad.
Why do you think the Cubans are protesting? For misery, for famine? No, because they don't respect the laws, the Constitution.
Igual que los comunistas amenazando a las personas para que se callen, como hizo Frometa y su esposo con el problema de Germa. ¿Dónde está? Todo se ha quedado quieto. La comunidad quiere saber qué pasó y dónde están las cámaras cuando se grabaron.
Like the community with Formenta and Hema, where are the surveillance, the videos of cameras? The community wants answers.
Liva, tú en el mayo 12, el 20 de la agenda empezaste a hablar otra cosa porque empezaste a hablar. Yo dije, no, este quiere bajar hasta Jesucristo para abajo.
Sir, please direct your comments to me.
Oh, yeah? No, what? No. Cuando ustedes van al baño, ustedes no me respetan a mí. Ustedes se van y dejan uno hablando.
When you go to the restroom, you don't respect me. You guys keep continuing talking.
Y Liva empezó a hablar otra cosa. Ninguno de los tres, usted, Frometa y Livas, estaban en contra de las protestas. Pero como vieron que Aston estaba en contra, porque es ilegal, y también cuando aquello estaba Alex Saab, que es abogado y sabe de la Constitución de los Estados Unidos. No como el abogado de nosotros, que no sé qué es lo que pasa, porque no habla.
Formenta, Liva, and yourself were against it, and Gascon, Alex, he's an attorney. He should know the Constitution.
Acuérdense que lo puso la comunidad y tenemos todo el respeto de que si protestamos tienen que respetarnos, porque esa es la Constitución de los Estados Unidos.
Remember that we put you here on the board, and you have to respect the Constitution.
Thank you.
Keep it clean now. Good.
I don't think he knows how.
Yes, so I like to speak, right? So I'm going to make myself somewhat unpopular among the speakers. I do not believe that Mr. Gascon should be recalled. I think that for multiple reasons. Principally, I mean, come on now. Yeah, you might disagree with his policies, whatever. However, why don't you do the task of changing, public opinion? There were a lot of activists, hundreds, thousands sometimes, that would go to Jackie Lacey's office in downtown for years, every Wednesday. Wednesday after Wednesday after Wednesday, Black Lives Matter and many other people. And they engaged in the democratic process of changing the minds of the voters. So that was beautiful to see that, kind of public opinion shifted, and hence Mr. Gascon, Ms. Rossi during the primaries, they got a lot of attention from the voters. The voters agreed with them, agreed with a change in direction towards more restorative care, attempting to, be less harsh so that we don't end up with so many people locked away. Yes, there's a lot of discussions that could be had, but, so these people that, recalls come from, places of not wanting to accept the results of the election. The fact is we had an election, it was pretty recent, and Mr. Gascon won. So in the same way that, there's other recall efforts, I don't think that makes sense to spend all that money. There's so many other issues, including issues related to crime, like, talking about the actual sources of crime and how we can do better as a society, as a government, to attempt to ameliorate those. So I just urge people, say no to this waste of taxpayer funds, no to the recall of Gascon. Thanks.
Thank you.
You ready?
All set, ready to go.
I want to start off by addressing what the hell is the city attorney doing? Blanca, you skipped through number 4, which was supposed to address this item. In fact, you all quietly allowed it to happen. Why did you skip it, Mayor Pro Tem? Is it because Mario's sitting over there? Why did you guys skip number 4 on presentations? Presentations regarding the impact of directives by the LA County District Attorney of the City of Downey. Now, actually, a better question, why did the city attorney allow that to happen? Obviously, you're not doing your job, city attorney. And as long as you don't keep doing your job, these council members are gonna continue to do whatever they want. In fact, they're gonna skip over items or do themselves favors. I believe it was the mayor of Downey who posted on Instagram saying that the only reason why no action is being taken on Gascon, Saudis Formeta's words, by the way, is out of respect for Mr. Trujillo. So this is crooked, and I expect that from you. The reason why I expect that from you, Mr. Trujillo, is because you are on public record involving yourself in a case that you were not assigned to, violating federal procedures. I'm pretty sure that's why you're stepping down from special advisor, because nobody steps down their first year being appointed unless there's legal issues or ramifications. Another thing is, the city attorney is okay allowing an investigation for a petty theft that happened 7 years ago for Ms. Alvarez, but why isn't she investigating a federal offense that took place by one of our council members at one of the most highest levels of office here with the very own district attorney's office? This clear discrimination is being documented. We are developing a list of causes, and we are coming to disbar you, Ms.
Thank you,
City
Mr.
Attorney.
Martinez. And just so you're aware, and I had previously mentioned it, but I don't think you heard, I had said that the Gascon presentation was tabled to the next council meeting to allow for our mayor to also be present. So that's the reason why you don't see it on the agenda. Out of courtesy and to allow her to also participate and ask questions, we tabled it to the next council meeting. But thank you for your comments.
Move to close public comment.
Okay, is there a second? Public comment period now closed.
I'm just waiting for the next one.
Okay, now is the time for consent calendar items. Are there any council members that would like to remove or abstain from an item?
Madam Mayor, I would like to abstain from the regular council meeting minutes of July 13th, 2021, under consent calendar number 4, as I was absent from that meeting.
Anything further?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I'd also need to abstain from the minutes of the July 13, 2021 meeting due to my absence from that meeting.
Okay. Also, I do want to mention, let me see. No, we're good. Okay, City Clerk Duarte, did we receive written comments regarding consent calendar items to be read into the record?
We did none, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Members of the public wishing to address the council regarding consent calendar items may now come forward and form a line. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak, and watch your language.
All right, well, Mike Greenspan and I was at the July 13th meeting, unlike council members Ashton and Trujillo. So some of us have a better attendance record, I guess. And let me be the first to say, Happy New Year, you scab rabbis. Don't want anybody to beat me to the punch. So now, there's something on the approval of the minutes. Maybe I should say, wait a minute, on the approval of the minutes. We go to the meeting, the regular meeting on the 13th of July, and it was an administrative item, number 15, tabled to tonight, tobacco and tobacco products, about banning or regulating them. And folks, it's a dog and pony show. And this is not my first dog and pony show. I was there in LA with Wayne.
Which item were you on? Which
on
item?
15, the administrative, about the vaping and the tobacco and the menthol cigarettes. That
It's not
is
on-
included in the minutes of the council meeting on the 13th. It's been tabled to today. And of course, it didn't appear on the agenda. So I want to mention something. Oh, I was there. The David from Hollywood. It's a David Rue dog and pony show. Dog, pony, dog, pony. Yes, don't vape, kids. Don't vape, kids.
Sir, that's not on the agenda.
Yes, it is on the agenda. I'm talking about, maybe you should learn to read. I'm talking about what's on the agenda. The tobacco thing, the vaping. Oh, telling kids not to be doing these things. And then there's Uncle Herbie, Herbie Wesson.
Can I stop this for a minute? Give me a moment, please. I have a question to ask the city attorney. So in the event of this, he's bringing up something from the minutes from a couple meetings ago.
Which was not discussed.
Well, we didn't discuss it then.
We
didn't discuss it tonight, but like technically it's on the minutes. My concern is, can he bring that up, or is if there's public comment on the minutes, does it have to be more of a clerical thing in nature?
If it was in the minutes and it was discussed, so there was some substance in the minutes because you had a discussion, then yes, he could comment on it. But that item was not even discussed at that meeting, so there's nothing to comment about because it wasn't discussed. It was continued. Mr. Martinez, I am speaking. You will have your time. So.
Okay.
So
Please
you're off
move on,
topic.
Mr. Greenspan.
What?
You're off topic. Move on.
Please
No,
move
I'm not
on.
off topic because it was supposed to be there. It was supposed to be there
Sir,
today. It never
sir,
happened.
This is your final warning. Stay on topic.
I am on topic.
Or we'll have you sit.
I am on
Final
topic.
warning.
I am on topic. It's a big fucking lie. After all, he got $15,000 from Juul. That's a Juul of a contribution. Why do we have to tell people not to be vaping when somebody who's been
Madam
as
City
high
Attorney?
as the Assembly Speaker getting
please have a-
contributions
You've been
from
warned.
vaping companies?
Madam Mayor,
Sir.
you may ask him to sit
After
down.
all.
He's not listening.
Please sit down, sir.
Oh, fuck you.
Okay. Mr. Martinez, we'll clean the area for you, and then you can go ahead and speak.
I'll keep it short. This isn't anything for you guys. For item number 8, I expect people who ran on progressive platforms to vote against this for item number 8. So I'm thinking of a particular council member. Her last name starts with an A, ends with a res sound. So if you vote on for 8, you will be empowering once again the group that you are supposed to reallocate some money for better social programs. So please vote against this. You know what happens every time that you don't. I tell the community and then people start talking crap to you. So vote against this, Alvarez, please.
Thank you. Mr. Herman, stay on topic.
Yes, Mommy. Sir, you're not confused on the approval of minutes and consent calendar. I wish to speak on item 6 and item 8, Mommy. Now, Mommy, please understand that the police on campuses is very dangerous. It's very dangerous. We got great teachers, we got great counselors, we got a great faculty. Why do we need Downey police manhandling children? It's not a place. It's not a place, Mr. Levis. If they wish to go there because the school can't handle it, then they get a call. The sheriffs, the PD, they come in, Downey PD, they can handle it. But don't trust LAPD niggers, because those fools pack a gun at their ankle or behind their little booty boot belt, and they'll fuck you up like they did that man in Costco. Poor 32-year-old man never had a chance being disabled. And then item number 6, Mommy, because you love America and you believe in our rights of asphalt, Mr. Levis. You know, American asphalt was up there in Norwalk and in Hacienda Heights. And actually, they were off the 60 freeway. Some of you dumbasses who learn how to drive on the 60 would see they were laying asphalt. It's a black, tarry, gooey shit that they put on the streets and they slurry seal it so it looks beautiful. However, Mommy hon, I made a call. Your boys fucked up a water line and they covered up with new asphalt. Who's responsible? Well, I just want you guys to accept the work. However, take responsibility. No fucking joke, Mommy hon. Tell the city of Downey what happened after I called you. You see, because a little asshole wetback like me, I walk every day up and down streets.
Norwalk, Hacienda, Cerritos, Pasadena, sometimes LA, but right now I want to stay away from the rats. Fat Nuri Martinez is a rat. Hilda Solis is a rat. And again, competition for construction, new infrastructure regarding all-American asphalt. Well, I just want to put on the record, don't fuck up our streets. And if you do, you come back and fix them. Right, Ashton? Right, Trujillo? Right, Mommy? By the way, Mommy, your hair's a little messed up. You got to fix it. You looks like you have a bump on your head. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Good job on staying on topic.
Move to
Okay,
close public comment.
is there a second? Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar and a second?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I don't necessarily want to pull anything, but I did want to have the police captain, if possible, kind of talk about item number 8 and just kind of the benefits of that program.
Thank you. Of course, we've had our school resource program for several years. It's been in place. We have an officer on the campuses of our high schools. And it's twofold. It's to provide security for the students there, to provide that they have a safe environment to learn, and it's also to build relationships with our youth in the community. So we have different officers assigned each day of the week, and they have time to interact with the students there. So it's a dual-purpose program. It's been very successful in the past, and I know the school district appreciates having us there as well.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Councilmember Alvarez, did you have a question?
Yes, I was just going to bring up the same thing. Thank you. Sean already did.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion, a second to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make that motion, Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
Is there a second? Second. City Clerk Duarte, can we please have a roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashton?
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pacheco?
Yes.
And Mayor Frometa is absent. The consent calendar is approved with council members Ashton and Trujillo abstaining from the regular council meeting minutes of July 13, 2021.
Thank you. Okay, the last item on our agenda is an administrative report, review of the council meeting rules and discuss expanding methods for the public to address the city council during city council meetings. The first part of this report was requested by Councilmember Trujillo, which is to review the council meeting rules. Councilmember Trujillo, do you have anything to add about the meeting rules or anything to discuss?
Well, with the pandemic, we learned that the public could access our council meetings through technology, right? They could communicate with us, they can call in. And so some residents of the city wanted to know if we were going to continue to allow that, to perhaps develop rules that would allow members of the public to call in their comments and whatnot. So I thought we would bring it up for a discussion to see what are the current rules. And do we want to do that? I mean, there's so much abuse that was obvious from the amount of people calling in. So, yeah, it's sad that some of those people are probably going to ruin it for others, but we should have the discussion if that's what we.
Okay. Thank you. So that actually is something that Councilmember Alvarez and Councilmember Ashton brought up regarding expanding methods for the public to address the city council. So I don't know if Councilmember Alvarez or Councilmember Ashton have anything to add, or if we want to just go ahead and have the city attorney do a presentation and discuss this further, if it's okay with.
Is there a presentation?
Well, she wants to discuss it
So
further.
all I'm prepared to review is give a summary of the existing rules that are on the books now on the city's meeting rules, including time limits, disruptive speech, and the penalties for breaching the city's meeting rules. They are already set forth in the agenda, and we've we say them before the meeting. If you'd like me to go ahead and present that summary, that's fine. I'm prepared to do that. If you just want to jump to the discussion about telephone input from the public during council meetings or email input from the members of the public during your meetings, that's fine too. So you just let me know which direction you want to go.
I think the discussion is more, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the discussion is just to expand methods of public participation.
So for me, one thing that was kind of when we kind of first opened up again a month or two ago, it was kind of said, "Oh, we're not going to do emails anymore," and like, no, like I don't get that. So usually when people want to complain about something or do something or say something to their city representatives, usually the first thing is, well, I'm going to come to city council and talk to them. But obviously, some people don't or can't be here at 10 in the evening or later to address some of those concerns. So then the next option is writing a letter. Well, that's kind of been accepted. You can write a letter and have it read at the council meeting. But then when the mayor mentioned, well, we're not doing emails anymore, I'm like, well, how is that different from a letter? And so that was kind of a concern that I really wanted to at least make sure that, we continue to allow that. And we have, from what I can tell, but that comment just kind of struck me as off. And that's why I mentioned that I wanted to kind of look into this. So that was my reasoning for wanting to have this discussion, just to make sure what we are going to allow for communication for those that are able to attend and for those that are not able to be here physically.
Thank you. Councilmember Trujillo?
So then if I understand this correctly, Madam City Attorney, members of the public are still allowed or are currently allowed under our current rules to, as my colleague said, email us, right? Address any part of our agenda and they could be heard. So during the pandemic, we were allowing them to call in or email, but the rules currently only allow written comment.
So how it worked was pre-pandemic, the rules addressed pre-pandemic conditions. So it just assumed people would come and make public comment. When we had the shutdown and the governor issued several executive orders, one of them was that there was this virtual element that could be incorporated into city council meetings. So people didn't have to come out during the pandemic to participate in person. They could call in and or Zoom in. Some cities do. We did both during the shutdown. Some cities did one or the other. And so when we reopened, I think there was an issue about which of those virtual participation tools do we keep in place, or do we just go back to pre-pandemic participation rules, which is the ones in your code. We're still under a local emergency. We have not terminated that, even though we've reopened. We still have the Delta variant. There's still issues of COVID. And so under the emergency umbrella, the council can't just continue to accept either email, and like we did tonight, email comments. We read them into the record during non-agenda public comment. That can still be allowed by the council while we're in this emergency situation. If you don't want to allow the calls aspect of it, you do not have to. You can just allow the email part of it and not the calls, or you can allow the calls and the emails. It's up to you. So we're still under this emergency order, and so you can make you can add those elements to your rules while we're under the emergency. Now, if you want to make them permanent, we can talk about that. That'll require a code amendment. But if this is just while we're in this state of emergency, you can just make that order just effective while we're under the state of emergency and not have to amend your code. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of flexibility depending on what you want to do.
So right now, we're accepting the emails, but once this executive order ends and we're back to normal, we're not accepting emails anymore?
Unless the state law changes, We go back to the meeting rules in your code.
So basically,
yes.
assuming everything hasn't been changed, and we would revert back to just, you have to mail it through the U.S. Postal Service for us to have access to read it, or?
No, look, the members of the public can always email you. The issue is, do you want those emails read into the record during non-agenda public comment? But public can always email council members at any time on any issue. I don't think that's really the issue here. The issue here is when we get email public comment to the city clerk to be read into the record during the meeting, do you still want to do that now, or maybe you want to do that indefinitely? That's really the question.
Okay.
Pre-pandemic, I was elected during the pandemic, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic, was the public allowed to email in their comments to the city clerk to be read? Pre-pandemic?
Pre-pandemic, we would read in letters that were public hearings
Got it.
only.
But no emails?
Not for the most part. We did not read emails as part of the non-agenda public comment. People would just come.
And the state law that you speak of, were these mandates or were these suggestions, options being made available to the cities, or were they mandates?
The executive order issued by the governor required cities to find other ways to do virtual, insert virtual aspects to their council meetings because everything was shut down. City Hall was shut down. There was limited or no open meetings to the public during that time. So cities were required to incorporate virtual technology to allow people to hear and participate in the meeting in different mediums so that they didn't have to come here. Because it was either they come here, and if we're closed, then there's no other way unless we had a call-in number or we did a Zoom, which is what we did. But yes, it was a requirement to do at least one of those. Yes, during the pandemic.
Councilmember Alvarez, I know this was also an item that you brought up. Did you want to mention anything?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I do really want to bring back, which is emails. And we go with calls, it would be a call to leave a message so it can be read as well in the meeting. I don't think we should go back to like it was before pandemic, and we should let the public, talk, have the First Amendment. And I'm speaking on behalf of disabled community like me, that not all the time I'm gonna be able to write a letter. I'm just gonna be able to speak instead of writing, or vice versa. Zoom meetings is, to be honest with you, it's the best thing that it can happen during the pandemic, because it's the only way to actually have conversations with family or city council meetings, as an example. So I would like to have the three of them, just to change the calls to be as a message in the city.
Are there any other comments from my council colleagues?
Let's hear from the public
Yeah,
first.
that's what I want to do too. So now's the time for public comment on this item. City Clerk Duarte, do we have any emails regarding this item?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, members of the public who wish to address the council regarding this item may now come forward. You may proceed.
Yes, Mike Greenspan, and I don't care how people address their government. Emails, look at this. You guys don't know what it looks like. It's a Cal State Advantage card, EBT. We don't have emails. I'm not an eviction lawyer. I'm not a cradle-to-grave unionized mouthpiece that can't work in private practice like my brother, who was in 40 years of private practice. No offense to you, Mr. Trujillo, who's retiring with a nice fat pension, or Mr. Livas, who gets about $340,000 a year as the city manager They could afford to go zooming in and emailing and all those other fancy dancy things. No, some of us get in a vehicle, which I had to pay $500 to keep it running on the road because I needed ignition wires so I could drive down here tonight and go to the meeting. Drive from the San Fernando Valley an hour and 15 minutes through the traffic. So some of us will do what it takes to get here. We don't have all the fancy things. We aren't, well, let me do a few evictions like Blanca Pacheco and I could afford all the fancy devices. No. But if people want to do it, I know Mr. Spindler likes to call in. He might even want to email. Virtual. Okay. So let people do it. And let people speak. I've had problems with governments censoring me. And I'm not surprised because we only have the right to have their opinion. If we're in LA and Nuri sees it's your number, click, you don't get called. The cunt won't let you because you can only speak on their opinion. You have to have their opinion or tough shit. And we don't want to hear from other people. Hey, most countries, they just take you out like Cuba, line you up against the wall and shoot you. But here, they tolerate us. They don't shoot us, just get interrupted because you don't like what I say. Well, that's your problem. I'm just sick and tired of snooty people in government thinking, well, it's our government. No, it's not your government. It's all of our governments. And as far as cunts like Blanca Pacheco and Yvette M.A. Bitch Garcia shouldn't be interrupting and under any circumstances. And hey, you're not going to find me emailing you. You're not going to find me phoning in. Remember, EBT people are not email people. We can't afford it.
Thank you.
Did I request 5 minutes?
No. But nice try.
So the city attorney had her own interpretation of what we should be doing at an emergency state right now that we're under. Here's another interpretation. We have an emergency state right now, and you guys stop providing the essential services that our community needs. That is a big mistake. Now, I know I upset Trujillo earlier, but this isn't about me or you, Trujillo, or anyone here. This is about our community. Public access does not only provide access for the people that are here. There's people who have ADA issues, who are dealing with life issues, who cannot make it here today. Now, what's the difference between today and a few months ago? Virtually nothing, because we still have a pandemic that's happening. Numbers are still climbing. And guess what? We have a new variant that is more contagious than the prior one. And you guys are going to tell me that you guys don't want to provide services so that people can safely call in from home? Are you serious? Not only should we be providing these services in general for everyone, because it's more than just the regular people who could walk in here and present and speak like I can. It's for the people who are nervous, or for the people who can't make it, or for the people who have trouble walking down this aisle because of whatever health reason. It's for them. You talk about evolving, about getting Wi-Fi for all the parks, and about new technology. Our government has to evolve as well. And that includes our communication. Technology, because it's now a part of our community, it's an essential part to where cell phones are handed off for free at times by the government, because there's a recognition that technology is now solely integrated into our lives to the extent that it is necessary. So with that said, not only should you be providing that accessibility for people with ADA and other issues in their lives, But when this pandemic and this emergency ends, you should look at our framing of our paperwork, and we should extend it beyond this emergency. Downey should be the city that provides inclusivity and accessibility for its community. And I assure you that anyone who does that, who gives a voice to the community, will be a hero to our community. But this whole elitist crap of get your ass down here and this is the only way you're gonna be heard, it's more of the crap that I've been seeing with cutting down time and limiting freedom of speech. You could do the right thing and empower this community, or you could be snobby and deprive this community during one of its most essential times. I hope you continue this now and after this pandemic.
Mr. Herman? Mr. Herman?
Yes, Mommy. You gotta clean the podium. You don't want me to get sick with COVID, right? It's part of the conversation, sweetheart. Yes, I deserve to be called Mr. Fuck Herman, though. Who the fuck is Herman? Well, Herman's the gentleman demanding that virtual and Zoom and live stream for public hearings continue the way it has continued. Our favorite puppet, Mr. Spindler, lives in Encino. Now, 2 hours of traffic to get here is reckless and stupid, when all you have to do is see mommy up there in the little camera and wave at her. Oh, look, I'm live stream. No longer in the urgency of an emergency or have to do the email like Mr. Spindler put on record today during general public comment, in which Ms. Duarte read into the record, right? You mentioned something about fat. But as you see, yeah, a lot of us have gained a little weight over the emergency. However, as for myself, I believe in free speech. I believe that the meeting rules and decorum are vague and abrasive because they don't allow people to continue to criticize idiots. And unfortunately, YouTube number BA466952-01, in which Honorable Judge Mark S. Arnold, for the record, asshole, I tried to get on YouTube, and I wanted to talk about Mario Trujillo in this incident under that BA466952-01, for the record. However, because I'm disabled, I was dropped on the call. See, Mr. Spindler and I called, and Mommy Claudia Frometa, and even at times Mommy Pacheco didn't know what fucking puppet was on the phone. Wanny, wanny, wah, wanny, wanny, wah, wanny, wanny, wah. Well, that sounds like Herman. No, wah, 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 wah. Oh, that sounds like Spindler. Right? You know who the fuck it is. That's great. It's the greatest protected speech in the world. However, click, drop the call. Oh no, he's not going in that direction. Drop the call. That's fucked up. Let us have our 2 minutes, our 3 minutes, or 1 fucking minute to participate in these public hearings under the review of council meeting rules and discussion, expanding the methods. I just showed you one method. That's all I got is one method. And I still believe to address the city council during any open closed hearings, not like the cunts from Los Angeles. Fuck you, Nuri.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Okay, is there a motion to close public comment?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Public comment period now closed. Is there any further, is there further discussion amongst my council colleagues?
Yeah, so some of the comments that were made were people having to drive, a couple hours to get to the council meetings. And, I can kind of respect that in a sense, but, I don't know. Like, I've never had a 2-hour drive from home to here. Even with the road construction, I think it's been 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And, for certain people to complain about having to drive from Encino and the Valley to come here, kind of defeats the purpose of what we are here to do in the city of Downey. It's to deal with the business of the city of Downey, not the business of Encino, not the business of the Valley. So in that sense, I have no, whatever. I hope you enjoy making the drive, because that's all on you. You expect us to be able to do things for whatever is going on in your city. That's not going to happen here. We're here to deal with the business of Downey. And if you have something to say about the business, then that's your right to drive 2 hours to come here. But I don't think I need to justify opening things up to make it to where you don't have to do that anymore. That's on you. Like for our residents that are here in the city of Downey, I don't have a problem with having things done to make it easier for our residents to communicate. And I think one way we can do that is to open up the email. I mean, we've always allowed letters. I don't see how an email is any different. I know in the past, we've always kind of just said we've had X amount of letters, and I had to kind of think about this, but X amount of letters in support of this and X amount of letters in against. And then usually when we post the minutes and those letters are posted, I might be wrong on that, but like if somebody somebody sends in a letter saying, they support this item or don't support this, that's always included in the minutes for whether it's a public hearing or just a general comment or anything like that. Is that normal?
For public hearings, we incorporate those for and against letters and emails. We incorporate those into the record.
But not for like this item, for instance. So so this item there, that would not be done.
Before the pandemic, we did not do that as a regular practice, only for public hearings. But it is something you can consider.
Yeah.
And I think letters and emails should be treated the same, in my
Oh yeah, no, I totally think they
same,
should be the same. And I don't know if before the pandemic, were we treating them the same?
Yeah, right. I think we were just, when we incorporated them into the record, we treated them the same.
Okay, so
Whether it was a letter and email, we'd incorporate those comments into the administrative record as part of the public hearing. Yes.
Okay.
And I just want to mention, I'll continue with council comments, but I just want to mention that the mayor has been in support of reading emails, given that the last several council meetings, emails have been read. So just want to make sure that's on the record that the mayor is in support of reading out emails. I don't know if Councilmember Trujillo has anything to mention.
Well, I want the residents to know that if you...
Mr. Greenspan, please stop, or we'll ask you to leave for being disruptive. That is your warning.
I want the residents to know that if at any time they have any issue that they would like for us to address, that they want to bring to our attention, please email us. You do not even have to wait for a council meeting. We tend to be good about responding. Sometimes they'll email all 5 of us. If I see that one of the council members has responded, I usually won't engage because it's being addressed. Somebody accused me earlier, me and Sean, I think it was, because we didn't respond to a request. Well, we see the email chains. We already know it's being responded, so we don't respond. So whatever you think about my character, go ahead and make up whatever you want in your mind, because I didn't respond to you. But we try to make ourselves accessible at all time to people. So at this time, I think that we should treat emails just like certified letters. I think that's antiquated. Our residents shouldn't have to certify a letter or whatever it is.
Send a letter.
Just email us. Yeah, let us know. And email the city clerk and specifically say, hey, I would like for this to be read into it. At this time, I'm not inclined to do phone calls, but if you are a Downey resident, if you're listening and you want to be able to call, do me a favor and email me and let me know who you are, that you're out there. At this time, I'm not inclined to do the phone calls because of the abuse by specifically people in this audience. You guys messed it up for the rest of you. So at this time, I'm not going to support phone calls. I will support the emails. And I'm not going to support the phone calls because I'm not sure that the need is there, but I know the abuse is there. So unless residents come forward and tell me, hey, I'm one of those residents that's really serious about addressing things on the agenda, then perhaps I might change my mind, but not at this time. But I'm okay with emails.
And just for clarification, I know there's been a mention about there's a difference between letters and emails. Madam City Attorney, has we ever treated emails and letters differently? Isn't it still written correspondence? Is that correct?
We've never treated it differently. We've treated them during public hearings, when we've received either one, we've just treated them as written correspondence.
Just want to make sure that that's been clarified. There is no difference between one or the other. And should we go ahead and entertain a motion? Do we need a motion?
One other thing I want to bring up now. So we've been streaming via YouTube for a couple of years now, correct? With the council meeting, give or take, I'm not trying to be specific. Yeah. And then we've been doing the Zoom thing for pretty much since the pandemic began, so about a year and a half. And I don't know if there's somebody in here that can kind of answer the question as far as the reliability of one over the other, or if we continue to do both, or, that I think, like, if it's not, I know we've had meetings where we've had to kind of wait because something's been going on with YouTube. Versus, like, I don't recall having to wait on a meeting because of something going on with the Zoom. Yes. Maybe we switch from the live streaming from the YouTube to the Zoom, but then we can put the videos up on YouTube later or whatever. I mean, like, my whole thing is I want to give people at least access to say, hey, this is what we're doing here, so watch us. Right. And then, not necessarily... if the YouTube is not working very well, then maybe this can be a backup, or have the YouTube as a backup and this be the main thing. But I think having both is a good idea.
Sure. Look, first of all, there was a big learning curve for a lot of people. We actually had to upgrade our equipment to handle all of this. It was actually a big expense to get to that place. There's actually a lot of cities that haven't been even able to afford to do that. I mean, we have 2 people sitting there dedicated now every meeting to handle this, just because that's just the cost of doing business for public access. Now, in terms of YouTube and the difference between YouTube and Zoom and which platform is better, I'll leave that to our IT folks. You want to come up for a sec?
Thank you.
Thanks, Alvin.
Thank you. Yes, in regards to YouTube versus Zoom, the two we can do both, actually. We, just like during the pandemic time, we were able to stream both YouTube and Zoom. So that's possible. Whether one's more reliable than the other, it's really dependent on the internet. Our internet has been upgraded as well, so it's much more stable now than it was 18 months ago. So at this point, both options are viable. We can use both, or we can use one or the other.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Are
So
there?
I wanted to ask something. So basically, with me, that I believe I'm the only ADA in the city council in Downey. If I cannot go to the city council for any reason, and if you guys remove Zoom, how I'm gonna be able to have the meeting?
Madam City Attorney.
Okay, so let me back up a bit. Now that we're still under the governor's executive order, and under the Brown Act, there's some set of rules related to teleconferencing. And before the pandemic, there were very strict rules about how you teleconference. So if a council member needed to call in using a telephone line.
Mr. Herman, please have a seat.
I'm getting ready to leave, ma'am.
Well, please do so quietly. We're in the middle of a meeting. Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman.
So before the pandemic, there were these strict rules about how to teleconference. If a council member couldn't make it physically to the council meeting, they could call in from a remote location, so long as we met certain requirements. One of them was that the council member participating remotely had to post the agenda at the location where they were teleconferencing. So if they were at home, they'd have to post that agenda at their house. They also had to make their home open to members of the public to participate from that location. That's just some of the rules that existed before the pandemic. When the pandemic hit and the governor issued an executive order relaxing those requirements, and that executive order is effective until the end of September. So those teleconferencing rules allow council members like Councilmember Alvarez to remotely participate without having to post the agenda at her home, without having to leave her door open or make it ajar so that somebody could walk in and participate at her home. He relaxed those requirements. That's still in place right now, but but only until September 30th. Then we go back to the old rules unless the governor extends his order on those by continuing the relaxation of those rules. We will go back to the strict requirements for teleconferencing. So she can't make it to a meeting. She could still teleconference in remotely, but she's going to have to post the agenda at her location, and she's going to have to make the location she's participating at remotely. It has to be open to the public so they can come in and participate from her location. So that's kind of where we're at on how she could participate if she couldn't make it.
So, may I ask a question, Madam?
Yes.
So, do we need to change the rules so that our councilwoman, even after the pandemic, or anybody, anyone from the council, if we want to call in, can have that ability, or Zoom in, so that we can have that ability? Do we need to change any rules?
Yeah, it's a Brown Act. It's a Brown Act requirement. Now, there is some pending legislation that would make it a requirement to allow Zoom and these other virtual ways to allow council members or anybody to participate. But I'm not sure where that legislation is. It has not been adopted or signed into law yet. But there's some pending legislation out there that could change the Brown Act rules. But as of today, the Brown Act teleconferencing rules, the old ones will kick in October 1. And then we go back to that unless there's some legislation that changes those rules, relaxes those rules, or the executive order is extended further from September 30th.
So out of curiosity, if I'm in Puerto Vallarta and I want to call into the meeting and I post it at my condo outside, I'm good?
72 hours in advance.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
72 hours in advance, you make the condo open to the members of the public.
Okay.
That would probably
If
be the
anybody wants to
community
fly
and
down.
Ensenada.
All right, okay.
But technically, those are, but if you're on a cruise ship, members of the public can't access the cruise ship where you're at. So teleconferencing.
It's gotta be accessible.
Yeah, teleconferencing would not work there. But as long as it's accessible location to any member of the public, then, and you post it and you followed we'd have to put the address on the agenda.
Yeah.
All of that has to be followed under these strict
Interesting.
rules.
Okay.
But right now, we're under the relaxed rules until September 30th.
Thank you.
Brown Act is very strict.
Yes, it is.
Okay, is there any further comments? Do we need to make a motion?
So, I mean, I would still like to see kind of what we can do with maybe acknowledging. I mean, we kind of acknowledge the letters that are there, but how hard would it be? And this is for you, Madam City Clerk, to incorporate the letters into what we post, as far as like, here's the minutes from, or here's the minutes from that meeting, and then these are the letters we received from these people in regards to certain items on the agenda. So I know we do that for the public hearings, but like if somebody sends in something for an administrative report, let's say, can we post that with, is that doable or possible?
What we have done typically is when we've received correspondence, we'll put it not only will we give it to you in advance, and if we get it the same day, we'll give it to you at your place here on the dais. But we also make copies and put in the back of the room for members of the public to take a look at as well. We've done that before. We do that during public
But then
hearings, so
after
we
the
can do that.
fact, so after the fact, we post all of this on online, right? We
Yes.
we have, so like if I wanted to go back to a meeting last year or whatever and pull that into, can we attach those things to that thing when it gets put up?
Yes, we could
Okay.
post those. We could post those on our website. The only thing I would say is that sometimes people will put their personal telephone number, personal email,
Redact.
address, and so we redact those. But we
Yeah.
have done it. I think during the pandemic, we did post some emails and public comments on the website after the fact, after the meeting. So yes, that's completely possible.
Okay. So then what type of a thing do we need to?
So why don't we talk about what's the direction on emails we get for items on the agenda or non-agenda public comment? Do you want those read during the meeting?
Yes.
Is that, I understood that you want those read during, so if we got non-agenda public comment emails and letters, we would read it during that period of time. If you got letters and emails about admin reports, we'd read them when the public comment period started on those items. So that's my understanding. Yes?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that, but I would like to add an amendment if we could, that it's at the mayor's discretion whether he or she wants to just note, we received emails, 80 emails, there seems to be 40 in support of, and 40, I know other cities do this. So that the mayor has a discretion to read each one individually or to group them and say, we received 30 in favor of this item, 30 against, and file and receive.
Yeah. I just think also it's important for us to be accepting emails right now because of the Delta variant. There's
Yeah.
residents that maybe don't feel comfortable coming into the council
Yeah.
meeting.
But I mean, even after this,
Even
though, that's,
after.
that's my whole thing. Like after,
And maybe
like-
we can always revisit it. That way our mayor has the opportunity to also be here for that discussion.
Yes.
But at least that way we can give direction that during this, because I don't know how long we're going to be in this state of emergency. They say till the end of September, but we might be in this situation longer because of the Delta variant and unvaccinated individuals. So I really don't know how long we're going to be in this situation.
But I think regardless.
I see what you're saying.
But I see what you're saying, though.
Yeah. So let me just clarify, but I think there's a little bit of confusion here. We're talking about actually, these are things that you would like to continue beyond if the pandemic ended tomorrow, you would still want emails read into the public record. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Right.
for me,
And letters.
yes.
And
Letters and
same,
email, yes.
written correspondence, right?
Or just like Councilmember Trujillo said, or just acknowledged.
Yeah,
you know.
and then if you have, it's the discretion of the mayor at the time, if you happen to have a large item and you have, 100 emails, that you can group them and say, we have, 40 in support and 40 opposed and that gives them the discretion. So those are the two items, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. One other item you mentioned, Sean, about posting them after the fact on our city website with the proper redactions.
Yeah,
Is that something you'd like to do as well?
I would.
Yes.
I'm fine with that, to
Okay.
make the emails public, even if they were just received and filed, acknowledged. Yes, I'm okay with that.
So I guess there's a motion and a second let's see if I got it correctly. The motion is to continue to read emails during the pandemic, but even after the pandemic, read the emails. And it will be up to the discretion of the mayor as to whether the emails are just merely acknowledged, depending on the number of emails. And in addition, for the emails to be made public with the proper redactions.
And to continue with the Zoom and YouTube, right?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I
think it's
we were
going to
gonna
be
plan on
either
doing
or.
that anyhow, or
Yeah,
is
yeah.
there a plan to kind of cut that off at the end?
No, we're not, we're still doing what we're doing.
Okay, so
here.
then so assuming we're gonna continue to do the Zoom and the YouTube, yeah.
Okay.
Question, do you need that, Madam City Attorney, that we want to continue Zoom and YouTube after the order? You don't need
No,
that? Okay.
no. if that's, because we do YouTube already.
Yeah.
So Zoom, we don't do Zoom like we used to anymore since we reopened. So if you want to continue Zoom, that should be one of your direction for tonight.
Yes.
Okay, and then, so you give us direction on what you want to do with the Zoom.
I think we're good with YouTube. Well, it's up to my
Well, I mean,
council.
Leave it up to you guys to.
To me, like I find the Zoom, it's grown on me. I think the Zoom is easier for people to be able to use. I mean, obviously, we're not going to give them, ability to just kind of interrupt our meeting or whatever, but we can, allow people to watch via Zoom, and I think that's okay.
I think the big advantage, it seems to me, with the YouTube is that everybody's familiar with it. They have an app on their phone. They use YouTube a lot. And so if they want to go to recorded meetings in the past, they're much easier to archive and, to view. That's why we use the YouTube.
No, which I'm not
Right.
against getting rid of the YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm just saying kind of it's an either or not an either. Like we're offering both. Like for those that are more comfortable with just doing the YouTube, that's cool. If you want to do it via Zoom,
Let me ask, Alvin, can we do those both simultaneously at the same time? Okay.
I mean, because we're kind of doing both simultaneously right now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say just
Clerk,
continue, but
you have
allow,
anything to say?
like, we're not allowing, so we're not allowing residents to log in via Zoom right now, though, correct?
No.
But I would like to see if we can do that again. If they want to log in, if they want to watch via Zoom, why can't we do that?
I don't know. No, I'm sorry, to log in and watch. I mean, we're broadcasting now both. Is that what I'm understanding?
Currently, we are only broadcasting through YouTube.
Okay, that's what I'm.
The only person that's on Zoom is Councilman Alvarez.
Yeah.
Okay. But a couple months ago, we were doing both.
Yes, and we can do that as well. The clerk would just need to advertise the Zoom link for
on the meeting agenda, which
correct.
she's done.
Okay. So that's what I want to clarify.
Yeah.
So you want both of them simultaneously?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
I'm good with just one,
Yes.
but it's up to the council.
And just to clarify, members of the public will only log in through Zoom, but there will be no participation via
Yeah,
Zoom.
no, the same way we had it before. Basically,
The
they can
chat
log in, they can
option,
watch.
yeah, the chat option is off.
Yes.
And there's no public comment received via Zoom.
No.
Correct.
No, that's correct.
Okay. So it's,
And this would be effective indefinitely. Now, again, we're under a local emergency order, which has no end date. You all will end the emergency order when you feel it's the time to do so. So this will continue on while we're under the emergency order. If you want it to extend beyond that, if you want to just put it in place as a permanent rule or requirement, then we should write it into our meeting rules at some point. We should do that.
I would like to see that at some point in time. I don't know if we have the capacity to do that tonight, but I would
No.
definitely like to do that.
It's something that we can bring back at some future time. It's not an urgent matter because, again, you guys you give us direction tonight, we can put it into place.
Yeah.
But if you want it indefinitely as a permanent rule, I would recommend you put it in your meeting rules as well.
okay.
Yes, I would like that done now.
Yeah.
We've already discussed that. I don't want to bring this back. I mean, can we just go ahead and make it part of the meeting rules that we will allow Zoom as an additional platform that residents could view the meeting but not participate, and YouTube, continue YouTube, and allow them to email with the mayor's discretion of what to read individually or not. I would like that to just be permanently part of the rules going forward.
And then those comments will be part of the record.
Yes.
Yes.
We will put that into place immediately, and then I will bring back an ordinance amendment to
Right.
change the rules.
Yeah.
in
Do I have a
municipal code.
second?
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
I got you.
All right,
So there's a
thank you.
motion and there's
Got
a
it.
second.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. City Clerk Duarte, did you get all that?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Perfect.
I'll
Can you
take
please
the
take a roll call vote?
Yes. Councilmember Alvarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashton,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pacheco,
Yes.
and Mayor Frometa is absent. The motion is approved.
Thank you. City Manager, now's the time for staff member comments. City Manager Rivas, do you have any comments to share?
Not tonight, Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. It is now time to adjourn the meeting. The meeting is now adjourned in memory of Kern County Sheriff Deputy Philip Campas, killed in the line of duty, and the lives lost due to COVID-19. A moment of silence. Meeting adjourned.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, Catherine.